There are things in the ocean that weren't supposed to exist, things that challenge everything we think we know about life on this planet, things that make you question whether humanity is truly alone or if we've simply been too afraid to look in the right places. My name is Commander David Chen. I served 23 years in naval intelligence for the United States Navy. I held clearances that most admirals never see. I analyzed data from submarine operations, deep-sea reconnaissance missions, and underwater surveillance systems that monitor every major ocean on Earth. And in 2019, I was part of a classified operation that encountered something 36,000 feet below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, something that shouldn't exist according to every law of biology and physics we understand. Something that's been deliberately hidden from the public for reasons I'm only beginning to understand. If you've ever felt that the ocean holds secrets governments don't want you to know, if you've ever wondered why so much military resources go into deep-sea operations that are never discussed publicly, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will change how you see the vast darkness beneath the waves. I was stationed at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, working as Senior Intelligence Analyst for Pacific Fleet Operations. My job was to coordinate data from our submarine fleet, analyze acoustic signatures from underwater monitoring systems, and identify potential threats in the Pacific theater. Most of it was routine, tracking Chinese submarines, monitoring Russian naval movements, analyzing acoustic patterns to distinguish between whales, vessels, and potential threats. Boring but important work that kept our fleet safe. Then, in March 2019, something changed. We started receiving anomalous readings from the Deep Ocean Acoustic Monitoring System near the Mariana Trench. The trench is the deepest part of any ocean on Earth, reaching depths of nearly 36,000 feet in some areas. We have monitoring equipment scattered throughout because it's strategically important and because, frankly, we have no idea what's down there. The readings were unlike anything in our databases, acoustic signatures that didn't match any known biological source, patterns that seemed almost organized, almost intentional, low-frequency pulses that repeated at regular intervals but varied in ways that suggested communication rather than natural phenomenon. At first, we thought equipment malfunction. The pressure at those depths destroys most technology, but multiple independent systems were picking up the same signals, and they were getting stronger. I was called into a meeting with Admiral Richardson, the Pacific Fleet Intelligence Director. He was career Navy, 35 years, seen everything. But when he briefed me on this, I could see something in his eyes I'd never seen before: uncertainty. Maybe even fear. "We have a situation," he said. "Deep ocean monitoring has detected something we can't explain. Washington wants eyes on it, real eyes, human observation." He explained that they were assembling a team for a deep submersible reconnaissance mission to the source of the signals, the deepest manned dive in naval history. They needed intelligence personnel to analyze what we found in real time. I was selected because of my experience with acoustic analysis and because my psychological profile indicated high tolerance for stress and isolation. I should have asked more questions, should have requested more information before agreeing, but curiosity got the better of me. I said yes. 2 weeks later, I was aboard the USS Nautilus, a research vessel that officially doesn't exist in any public naval registry. We were positioned directly above the deepest part of the Mariana Trench. On board was technology I'd never seen before, a submersible called Orpheus that could withstand pressures that would crush any conventional vessel. The team was small. Myself for intelligence analysis, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a marine biologist from Scripps Institution who had clearance for classified programs, Commander James Webb, an experienced submarine pilot, and Dr. Robert Kim, a physicist specializing in deep ocean pressure systems. The mission briefing was vague. Investigate the source of anomalous acoustic signals, document any findings, return safely. Standard protocol was if we encountered anything unexpected, we were to observe only, not interact. Radio silence during descent except for emergency protocols. We entered Orpheus at 0600 hours on a gray morning in April. The submersible was a sphere of reinforced titanium alloy surrounded by systems I didn't fully understand. Cramped, 4 people in a space barely larger than a van. Once that hatch sealed, we were committed. The descent took 4 hours. At first, sunlight penetrated the water, turning everything a beautiful blue. Then the blue faded to darkness. Complete, absolute darkness that no human eyes evolved to process. Our lights barely penetrated 10 meters in any direction. Beyond that was void. We had external cameras capturing everything, sonar mapping our surroundings, acoustic sensors listening. I monitored the data feeds, watching depth indicators climb higher. 1,000 feet, 5,000, 10,000, pressures that would instantly kill an unprotected human. At 15,000 feet, we started seeing bioluminescent creatures, fish with lights on their bodies, flashing patterns in the darkness, jellyfish drifting like ghosts, squished with eyes the size of dinner plates. The deep ocean isn't empty, it's full of life adapted to conditions we can barely imagine. At 20,000 feet, the anomalous signals got stronger, regular pulses, low frequency, coming from directly below us. I could see the pattern on my monitors, too regular to be natural, too complex to be simple acoustic reflection. Dr. Mitchell was excited. "This is incredible," she kept saying. "Nothing biological should be able to produce signals this organized at these depths. The pressure alone should prevent any complex neural structures from functioning." At 30,000 feet, we entered a zone our sonar couldn't properly map. Something was interfering with the acoustic returns, creating shadows in the data that shouldn't exist. Commander Webb slowed our descent, proceeding cautiously. And then, at 35,800 feet, we saw it. Our lights illuminated something that my brain struggled to process. A structure, massive, geometric, resting on the ocean floor in the deepest trench on Earth. It wasn't natural, couldn't be natural. Smooth surfaces that reflected our lights, angles too perfect to be geological formation, extending hundreds of meters in every direction, covered in what looked like barnacles or coral, but with patterns that seemed intentional, deliberate. "Jesus Christ," Commander Webb whispered. "What is that?" Dr. Kim was frantically taking measurements. "The structure is metallic," he said, "titanium alloy, but the composition doesn't match anything we manufacture, and it's old. The biological growth suggests it's been here for decades, maybe longer." We circled slowly, our lights revealing more details, symbols etched on the surface, not human writing, something else, geometric patterns that repeated with variation that suggested language, or at least intentional communication. And then the structure responded to us. Lights began activating along its surface, faint at first, then brighter, pulsing in patterns that matched the acoustic signals we'd been detecting. The entire massive structure was lighting up in sequence, responding to our presence. "We need to document this," I said, my voice steady despite the fear crawling up my spine. "Every camera, every sensor, record everything." The structure's lights pulsed faster, and then we heard it, through our acoustic sensors. A sound that wasn't natural, wasn't whale song or volcanic activity or any known ocean phenomenon. It was almost musical, almost harmonic, but with complexity that suggested intelligence. Dr. Mitchell was crying, actual tears running down her face. "Do you understand what this means? We're not alone. This is first contact. This is proof of non-human intelligence." But I was thinking about something else. The biological growth on the structure suggested it had been here for a very long time, decades at minimum, which meant this wasn't a recent arrival. This had been here, in the deepest part of our ocean, while humanity went about its business on the surface, completely unaware.
Commander Webb moved us closer, against protocol. We were supposed to observe and retreat, but curiosity overwhelmed caution. We approached to within 50 meters of the structure's surface. That's when we saw the opening, a section of the structure that appeared different from the rest, darker, recessed, like a doorway or hatch designed for something to enter or exit. And something was coming out of it.
Movement in the darkness beyond our lights. Something large, moving with purpose, coming toward us. Everyone in the submersible went silent. We watched our monitors as sonar painted a picture of something approaching. Something 20 meters long, streamlined, moving too fast for anything biological at these depths. Then it entered our light range, and I saw it clearly for the first time. It looked organic, like a creature, but with features that didn't match any known species. Elongated body, smooth skin that seemed to shift colors in our lights, multiple appendages that could have been arms or tentacles or something else entirely, and eyes. Large, dark eyes that seemed to focus directly on our submersible with unmistakable intelligence. It circled us slowly, observing, studying, and I had the overwhelming sensation of being examined by something far more intelligent than myself, the way a human might observe an insect, curious but fundamentally superior. Dr. Mitchell was speaking rapidly into her recorder. Subject appears to be biological, but with features suggesting possible technological augmentation. Body structure doesn't match any known evolutionary tree. Depth and pressure suggest either completely unknown adaptation or non-terrestrial origin. The creature completed its circle and stopped directly in front of our viewing port. That close, I could see details that my mind struggled to categorize. The skin wasn't skin as we understand it. It seemed to flow and shift. The eyes weren't eyes in the conventional sense, but something more like sensors. And along its body were markings that matched the symbols on the structure. Then it spoke, not in words, but we heard it through our acoustic systems. A sound that carried information, meaning, that somehow bypassed language and transmitted concept directly. And the concept it transmitted was simple: leave. Not aggressive, not threatening, just a clear communication that we were not welcome here, that we had seen enough, that we needed to return to the surface and not come back. Commander Webb didn't hesitate. He initiated ascent procedures immediately. The creature watched us rise, making no attempt to follow or interfere. Within minutes, we'd lost visual contact, but I could still see it on sonar, returning to the structure, returning home. The ascent took another 4 hours. None of us spoke much. We were each processing what we'd seen, trying to make sense of the impossible. When we finally surfaced and the hatch opened, I expected relief, fresh air, sunlight, safety. But instead, I felt a profound sense of dread, because I knew that what we'd found changed everything. And I knew that the people who sent us down there had no intention of sharing this discovery with the world. We were debriefed separately, isolated. Our recordings were confiscated immediately. We were told in no uncertain terms that what we saw was classified at the highest possible level, that discussing it with anyone, including each other, would result in imprisonment under national security laws. Admiral Richardson met with me personally. "What you saw stays contained," he said. "The public can't know, can't handle it. The geopolitical implications alone would destabilize everything. If people knew there was intelligent life in our oceans, life with technology beyond our understanding, it would cause panic, religious upheaval, international conflict over who has claim to contact." "But they have a right to know," I argued. "This is the most important discovery in human history." He looked at me with something like sympathy. Commander Chen, think about what you're saying. We have no idea what that structure is or who built it. We don't know if there's 1 or 1,000. We don't know their intentions. Until we understand more, revealing this would be irresponsible. I was reassigned 2 months later, transferred to a desk job analyzing satellite imagery, away from anything related to deep ocean operations. The other members of the team were similarly scattered, Dr. Mitchell to a research position in Antarctica, Commander Webb to Submarine Training Command, Dr. Kim to a civilian position at MIT.
They separated us, made sure we couldn't compare notes or collaborate, made sure the only people who knew the full story were divided and controlled. But I've spent the last 5 years thinking about what we saw, researching in my limited spare time, connecting dots that I probably shouldn't be connecting. There have been other encounters, I'm certain of it. Unexplained submarine incidents, ships that disappeared in deep water with no wreckage found, acoustic anomalies detected and then classified. A pattern of deep ocean encounters that the Navy has been hiding for decades. The structure we found wasn't unique. It was just the first one we got close enough to document. I believe there are others, in the Atlantic, in the Arctic, anywhere the ocean reaches extreme depths. An entire civilization living in the one place on Earth we never thought to look carefully, the deep ocean. And I believe they've been here far longer than humanity, that they might even be native to Earth, evolved along a completely different path in an environment separate from ours. Or they could be from elsewhere originally, but established themselves here so long ago that Earth is effectively their home too. The implications are staggering. If there's intelligent life in our oceans, life with technology that allows them to survive and thrive at depths that would destroy anything we can build, what does that mean for human claims of dominance over this planet? What does it mean for our understanding of evolution and biology? What does it mean for our place in the universe? I think the military knows more than they've told even those of us who encountered the structures directly. I think there have been attempts at communication, maybe even some level of ongoing contact or negotiation. Why else would they be so determined to keep this secret? Why else classify it above top secret? There are patterns in naval operations that suggest protected zones, areas of the ocean where submarines are instructed never to dive below certain depths, where surface vessels are routed around specific coordinates with no official explanation, as if we've agreed to stay out of their territory and they've agreed to stay out of ours. A coexistence policy with a species most humans don't even know exists. I'm violating multiple federal laws by sharing this. I could be arrested, imprisoned. But I'm 54 years old now. I've kept this secret for 5 years and it's eating me alive. People deserve to know that we're not alone, that intelligence exists right here on Earth in forms we never expected. If you're in the Navy, particularly submarine service or deep ocean research, you might have seen things you weren't supposed to see. Anomalies in sonar, acoustic signatures that don't match the databases, objects moving at depths and speeds that shouldn't be possible. If so, you're not crazy. You're not seeing things. You're catching glimpses of what's really down there. If you're a civilian researcher in oceanography or marine biology, pay attention to the data that gets classified, the research that gets shut down suddenly with no explanation, the expeditions that are canceled because of funding issues that don't quite make sense. There's a pattern there if you look carefully. And if you're just someone who's always felt that the ocean holds secrets, trust that instinct. The deepest parts of our oceans are less explored than the surface of Mars. We have better maps of distant planets than we do of the seafloor. And there are reasons for that beyond just technical difficulty.
What I encountered 36,000 feet below the Pacific changed how I see everything. It proved that intelligence can evolve in forms radically different from our own, that technology doesn't have to look like our technology, that there are entire civilizations we've never detected because we weren't looking in the right places or in the right ways. And it made me wonder what else we're missing. If there's intelligent life at the bottom of the ocean that we only discovered by accident, what else exists in places we assume are empty? In the deep earth? In dimensions of reality our senses can't perceive? The structure is still there. The creatures are still there, living their lives in the crushing darkness and pressure of the deep ocean, occasionally interacting with our submarines and ships, occasionally making themselves known in ways that get classified and hidden. How many times have naval vessels encountered them? How many sailors have seen something impossible and been told to never speak of it? How many ships have disappeared not because of mechanical failure or enemy action, but because they ventured too close to something we're not supposed to see? I don't have all the answers. I barely understand what I witnessed firsthand. But I know this much. We share this planet with intelligence we didn't create and don't control. Intelligence that has technology far beyond our current capabilities. Intelligence that has allowed us to believe we're alone as long as we stay in our part of the world and they stay in theirs. A coexistence that depends on ignorance, on the majority of humanity never knowing what's really beneath the waves. But secrets like this don't stay hidden forever. As we push deeper into the oceans, as our technology improves, as more people encounter the structures and the beings that inhabit them, eventually the truth will come out. The question is whether it comes out in a controlled way through official channels or chaotically through leaks and encounters that can't be covered up. I'm choosing the leak. I'm choosing to violate my oaths and security clearances because I believe humanity deserves to know, deserves to understand that we're not the apex species we imagine ourselves to be, that intelligence comes in forms we never expected, that the universe and our own planet is far stranger than we've been allowed to know. My name is Commander David Chen. I served in naval intelligence for 23 years, and what I encountered 36,000 feet below the Pacific Ocean still haunts me every single day. Not because it was frightening, though it was, but because I know it's still down there, still watching, still waiting, and wondering, perhaps, when humanity will finally be ready to acknowledge what shares our world with us. The ocean keeps its secrets well, but some secrets are too important to stay hidden forever. This is one of them.